Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this Wednesday live. I'm really starting to enjoy. These Wednesday lives. Please let me know that you can hear me properly, and that the sound is all good, and that the visuals are all good. And then we will get stuck in. We'll get underway. Hello. Yes, hello, Earth Mama. Nice to see you. My goodness, guys, you're going to be in for a treat today. This is an interesting one. Now, obviously, I would say that I want you to, I want people to experience. Oh, good, you can hear me, great. Of course, I'm going to say that it's interesting, but genuinely, I have looked at Joe Manchin's chart. And there are some very interesting things going on there. So before I begin, I just want to say hello to people. So we've already got a few people in the house. So again, thank you so much for spending your time with me this evening. I guess for you, it's 6 p.m. in the evening. Maybe the sun's still up a little bit. But for me, of course, it's almost midnight. But it's all good. Love being here, sharing with you guys. So who is in the house? I think I've got a new member as well. So I want to say hello to Robin Manley. Thank you so much for becoming a member. You've got lots of videos to enjoy. I've had some wonderful feedback as well on the from the members on the Dolly Parton video that I did recently. I think a lot of you enjoyed that, and isn't she interesting? Such a fascinating chart. Who else do we have in? We have Anne Rudd. We've got Zendol One. We've got Karen Johnson. We have Clarence Fields, so nice to see you. Sharon Saipe, so nice to see you again. And who else do we have? And we have got some more as well. Oh, there's one I've missed out here. And we've got Earth Mama, who is also with us in the house. So, folks, let's begin. Yeah, Joe Manchin. Now, what I've done is I've printed off some notes. You can see I've printed off some notes here, and I've got some little headlines and stuff like that to share. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover the basics. Now, obviously, you guys will, obviously you guys are mainly based in the States. So for those that are familiar with American politics and stuff like that, you could also be in Canada, it could be anywhere in the world. But for those familiar with American politics, Joe Manchin has been around for a while, and there is he's got a lot of experience under his belt. Let's put it that way. But let's start with the basics. As you know, I introduce. Before I actually get stuck in, I also want to say as well, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also join if you're up for joining. And also as well, in a funny thing, I'm actually next week's live. I know we're doing this current live now, but next week's live, it's not going to be a political person. I thought I'd just mention that at the top. It's going to be Dan Price of Gravity Credit. Do you guys know him? He was the guy back in 2015 who decided to pay all of his employees $70,000 minimum. Yeah, can you imagine if that was your pay? $70,000 minimum. And it's just very interesting. And I wanted to kind of look at charts of people that, where they've got more of their heart in the right place, because I know we talk a lot about politics on the channel, and sometimes it may not always be the most uplifting because, these politicians, unfortunately, as we know, can often be self-serving. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And there is a kind of almost uncanny similarity between some of these politicians and their charts. And let me just see here as well, make sure I've not missed anything. So I did a shout out to Robin Mandley, and also as well, Wednesday the 29th, next Wednesday, that's when I'm going to be announcing the next winner of a free consultation. So for you that are members of tier 3, one of you, I'm going to pick the name out of the hat next week, and you'll be getting a free consultation with me. Anyway, now, without further ado, Joe Manchin, let's cover the basics. So Joe Manchin was born on the, according to Wikipedia and other places, was born on the 24th of August, 1947. 1947. So he's in his 70s now. He's in his 70s, and he was born in Farmington, Virginia. Yeah, Farmington, Virginia. So as you can see, as usual, I've got the chart up. So that this is Joe Manchin's chart. And what I've done is here, I've not filled in the drishti at the top because I didn't want too many lines looking at, because there's a lot there already. But I have filled in the drishti for the Navamsha. And this is fascinating. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to read off my notes just to cover that basic ground. And then we're going to kind of to and fro between here and the chart. So going to my notes. Some of you, of course, many of you will know this already, but some of you, particularly as well, viewers that maybe aren't from America, not so familiar with American politics or other things like that, this is for you. So Joe Manchin the third, born on August 24th, 1947, is an American politician serving as the U.S. Senator from West Virginia. And it's a seat that he's held since 2010. And of course, he is a member of the Democratic Party, and he was the 34th governor of West Virginia before he went on to, of course, become a senator. And so there we are. So there's that. So this is interesting. This is what he said about himself. So he said, Manchin has called himself a moderate conservative Democrat, but is often cited as the most conservative Democrat in the Senate. West Virginia has become one of the most heavily Republican states in the country, but Manchin has continued to see electoral success. So all straight away we see there's a bit of a conflict there, isn't there? Because he is a Democrat, but his state is overwhelmingly red to the extent that he is the only one. So already that's going to be quite tricky, I think, just in terms of a practical level of trying to get your missions accomplished. That's going to be something tricky. And I've highlighted some more notes here, and then we'll start going into the chart and seeing how the chart actually backs up so much of what his life is about. So here we are. So as a member of Congress, Manchin is known for his support of bipartisanship, voting for working with Republicans on issues such as abortion and gun ownership. Yeah, he opposed the energy policies of President Barack Obama. Yeah, opposed. Voted against cloture. I should have actually clicked on that because I don't quite understand what that means, but I'm sure you guys do know. Cloture for the Don't Ask, Don't Tell Repeal Act of 2010. I think that was to do with people in the army and stuff like that. And he did not vote on the bill himself. He voted to remove federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Isn't that interesting? Voted to remove it. And this was in 2015, and he also supported President Donald Trump's immigration policies and voted to confirm most of his cabinet and judicial appointees, including Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so we see already he's Democrat, but there's these strong sort of like conservative leanings, as it were. And of course, if anyone's got any questions or anything like that, I can see here in the chat. I love seeing the chat here. You guys are so chatty with each other. Everyone says hello, etc. to everyone, and which is really, really great. Let's see here. Yanti is also here as well. Hello, Yanti is in the house. So we see here, there's this kind of tension, a kind of conflict between being technically Democrat, but also being quite conservative. And there's more. Anyway, so he also repeatedly voted against attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. That really surprised me, actually. When I read that, I was like, wow. So, and he also voted to preserve funding but then he voted to preserve funding for Planned Parenthood in 2017. And voted against the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. So you see, there's different stuff here. And then he also voted to convict President Trump in both in his impeachment trials. So it says here, Manchin is a prominent opponent of policy proposals from the progressive wing of his party, including Medicare for all. That surprised me. And abolishing the filibuster. So he's still opposed to that. And also opposed increasing the numbers of justices in the Supreme Court. And he's also opposed increasing the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour and any attempts to defund the police. That I find really interesting, because you would think, hello, Gene, you would think that a Democrat kind of almost by default would, you know, be in support of, you know, raising the wage and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So that's a shame. And there's more bits. I don't want it just to be this long tract of text. Let's get stuck into the chart. So here we go. When we look here now, I've done the usual technique. Now there is the date, obviously, for Joe Manchin's birth, but not the time. But as usual, with people that are very prominent and reach high office and, pardon me, all of that stuff, they tend to be born around midday. Yeah, midday is a very good one. I mean, if you don't know the birthday of someone, you can do midday, but it works very well for very kind of prominent people because the sun is likely to be in a high house. So taking that assumption into account, but keeping the day the same, obviously, the day stated, we see here that that Joe Minchin is a Libra. He's a Libra ascendant. I don't know if you can see that. Sometimes it doesn't show. Let me just see here. There we go. So if I get the pen, here we are. We see he is a Libra ascendant. Libra ascendant. And he's got Jupiter in the first house. So what is Libra? Libra is all about the law. Libra is all about business, trade. It is about ideas, sharing ideas and concepts. It is about mixing and mingling with people. It's also about relationships of all kinds. So here we see that this is, if this time is right, he's a Libra ascendant. So what does Libra also deal with? It also deals with the law. Oh, someone's just saying, just put the paper in front of my face. Okay, well, I'll sort of do it like that. There we are. Try and make sure the light's not glaring too much. So Libra has a lot to do with the law and interaction, contracts and stuff like that with others. And he's got Jupiter in the first house. Now, when Jupiter is in the first house, that can give a lot of luck. Yeah, it can make a person actually very, very lucky, very fortunate. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, opportunities, abundance, all of that kind of stuff. That's what Jupiter deals with. But Jupiter in the sign of Libra still does very well. But Venus, who rules Libra and Taurus, is considered an enemy sign. So here, what this can mean is that Jupiter is a little bit compromised. Maybe not so much as if it were in Virgo or let's think, or something like that, or some other sign in which Jupiter is not so comfortable. But here, what's interesting is here, we look here and he's got Chiron in the first house. And do you remember when we were looking at Greg Abbott? He had Chiron in the first house as well. So I find that interesting. So what that can deal with, that can mean a person is dealing with a wound of some kind. It could be physical. It could be psychological. It could be, hello, Lucy Vilma. It could be emotional. It could be psychological. But either way, there's some kind of wound there. And it's with that Jupiter. So Jupiter, when he's at his best, he's very compassionate, very philanthropic, really wants to give to a lot of people. When Jupiter is a little bit challenged, then sometimes there can be issues to do with greed, yeah, things like that. Because Libra as well is also can be also to do with material gains, yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, but one of the things I found the most interesting, and it is to do with Joe Minchin's second house. And I have come to see this so often now in politics, particularly on the Republican side, that I am now going to refer to it as the Trump yoga, yeah, or duck l'orange yoga. So remember as well, for entertainment purposes only. Now, why am I saying that? What is this duck l'orange yoga? Now, if we look here is duck l'orange's chart. And you know, I'm always talking about his moon. Yeah, there's his moon. And we know this house here in the Southern Star charts is always Scorpio. So this is Scorpio. In fact, let's do a little scribble. Where is my, there we are. Let's just so it's a bit more clear. Let's actually just put Scorpio in like that. I'm not sure if that's going to show. I can't find my exact marker pen, but just so you can see, there we are. It's a little bit better, slightly better. Anyway, the moon is considered debilitated in the sign of Scorpio. Now, look, don't worry. If you are a Scorpio, particularly as well, if you've looked at your chart and like your Sagittarius, and then you've kind of knocked off 24 degrees and you might be like, oh my God, I'm a Scorpio. Don't worry, yeah, Scorpios are great, but it's a sign of intensity. It's a sign of passion. It's a sign of desires. It's a sign of going deep and digging into things. It's also a sign of power, a sign that's very, very interested in power, actually. And because it's so emotional and because it's so intense. Oh, yes. So you've got a few in the chat here. Yeah, the numbers going up. So nice for you guys to be here, particularly on a Wednesday as well, when a lot of people are obviously doing videos at the same time as myself and, whatnot. There's lots to look at. But going back here, the reason why the moon is considered debilitated in the sign of Scorpio is because the moon is already a very emotional and sensitive planet. Wherever the moon is in your chart, the moon represents the mind and the emotions, our predominant feelings about things, how we adapt, how we go with the flow. So here, let me just turn my fan away a little bit because I'm getting a little bit of breeze there. So here, when the moon is in Scorpio, the moon can become too emotional, too intense, too wanting to go to the bottom of things. Part of the shadow of Scorpio as well can be conspiracy theories and stuff like that as well, as I've said before. But it takes more than that. The reason why I call it this duck l'orange yoga or Trump yoga is that the moon must be in Jeshta, which is this section here. This section here of Scorpio, which is a very, very intense part of Scorpio, which wants to win often at all costs. Not always, but most of the time. And here is with the south node of the moon, which we know is what? Snip, snip. So when you get the moon, sun or the moon with the nodes, Rahu or Ketu, it intensifies things. Yeah, makes things much more intense. So here in Duck l'Orange's chart, we see we've got this debilitated moon and it's also a Chemodrama moon, and which means it's isolated and all this other stuff. But it's also here with Ketu. So that's added to some of that deep paranoia and intensity, unrelenting. Ketu can be like a scrutinizing force. The nodes of the moon can represent our obsessions. And I have seen this yoga commonly, particularly with the extreme side of the Republican Party. So when I look at Joe Minchin's chart, look at this. The moon, let me just show here. There's the moon with Ketu, and the moon is in Jeshta. It's the same combination, not the exact same degree, but it's the same combination. It's a very similar energetic pattern. Now that may not shock many people, because as we've seen, in terms of how Joe's been sort of like voting on certain things, you know, it has drawn many questions. But I just thought I would actually make that connection there, because basically Trump has the same thing. Also as well, what Joe Minchin has got, you will notice here on Trump's chart, do you see all the planets are on one side? Yeah, on one side of the nodes of the moon. There's no planets here. Also as well, it's the same for Joe Minchin. All on the same side, and that is called a Kala Sarpa Yoga. So it means the life is full of extremes, you know, ups and downs, you know, all of those kind of things. And for those of you in the chat as well, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. And Nancy, I'm going to be asking one of your questions as well about Joe Minchin and Joe Cinema when we go into the actual the tarot part of the consultations. But if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see if I can squeeze them in. So there's that. So I thought you might find that very, very interesting. Also as well, the second house deals with money and values, etc. And then when we go round, if we look here, Joe Minchin has got gobble gobble, yeah, which of course is Rahu. He's got that in what? The 8th house. How many times have we seen with these politicians and stuff, they have significant planets in the 8th house? Now, what's really interesting here, what have I written here? Now, remember, gobble gobble is the areas of life where we feel quite obsessive about things. Rahu, the North Node, also shows in the area of life in the direction that we're supposed to go in, ultimately, as part of our path. So it's very interesting whenever anyone has got Rahu in the 8th house. So what does that mean? So I've written here, Rahu in the 8th house can deal with being addicted. And it's in Taurus, which remember is a material sign. Remember, Taurus is all about luxuries, comforts, food, drink. Taurus is about the earth. I call this, I've seen it so often, I call it the Gaia portion, because this can literally deal with like the literal earth. So I put here, Rahu in the 8th can be addicted or obsessed with wealth and luxuries. And yeah, can deal with like wealth and luxuries and stuff like that. It also means he is having a nodal return. So it takes the nodes 18.5 years / 19 years to come back to their original positions. Because remember, they always go reverse. Yeah, so they go like this and they keep going round. And this is actually where the nodes are right now. Later on next year, around about in March, the Ketu is going to go into Libra and Rahu is going to go into Aries. So he's having a nodal return. What does that do? What it does is it can mix a person up a bit. It's like doing the astrological equivalent of a cartwheel, or switching your computer off and switching it back on again. So what it does is it can actually, in the positive, it can actually realign someone. Oh, thank you so much, Cheryl, for your donation. Thank you. I'll just click that one up there. Thanks so much. It can reaffirm someone on their life path, but also as well, it can also show, depending on the energies, the karmas that they've been building up in the previous years, it could also show an abrupt change or a surprise or a shock in some kind of way. Let's see. What's this? All right. Yes. So here, I'm just reading your thing here. So Rosina, yes. Hello, everyone. Rarely comment here, but I've been excited about this one and get a bad feeling from this guy, and I'm concerned about his hidden motives and backers. Yeah, it is a tricky one. It is a tricky one. And thank you as well, Earth Mama, so much for your donation. Here, when I tune in with him and when I look at his chart, I see a man conflicted. Yes, I see a man conflicted. Oh, thank you so much. Cheers. I see a man conflicted, especially because this Rahu is in the 8th. So here, when I was looking into sort of like his businesses and stuff, now remember, gobble gobble, it means we want more of something. We all have Rahu in our chart. So I'm not just going to try and make out it's just Minchin who only has this. We all have Rahu and Ketu somewhere. We all have an area of life that we might be obsessed with, but it doesn't reach the level that it often reaches with these people. Yeah, which can be very, very extreme. Oh, thank you, ID, so much. Edie. Edie. I don't know why I keep saying that. Thank you, Edie, so much for your donation. Mwah. And so here, Rahu in the 8th. Now, think about it. What's the 8th house? Let's just remind ourselves. You've seen me do this a ton of times, but it comes up so often, doesn't it? So, deals with what? Sex, death, and rock and roll. It deals with coal mines. Yeah? I actually forgot. I even wrote that down there. Coal mines. Remember that. And gems, espionage, lottery rings. It deals with traumas, wills, transformations, surrender, life insurance, psychology, addictions, metaphysics, disgrace, inheritance, bankruptcy, taxes, corruption. It also deals with money from others, astrology, and life force. Oh, man. And he's got gobble gobble there. So here he's got gobble gobble in the Gaia portion, which is about what? Resources. And you see there, I had on the notes before, coal mines. That is one of the things that's part of his business, isn't it? He actually, let me just see here, business and career. So look, you see, I've highlighted this bit. So I'm just going to read this bit off for you. So, Manchin founded the coal brokerage it doesn't say Energy Systems, it says Enna Systems in 1988. Yeah, 1988. What you've written here, I've noticed that many of these politicians have the same north-south nodes in Gemini Sag. Yeah, they can have that, absolutely. And then if you take 24 degrees off of that, if you're talking tropical, then it will fall into that Scorpio Taurus as well. So, you know, those kind of effects. Anyway, so he started Enna Systems in 1988 and helped run it until he became a full-time politician. Then he was elected West Virginia Senate Secretary of State in 2000. He gave control of Enna Systems to his son, Joseph. In Manchin's financial disclosure for 2020, he reported that his non-public shares in Enna Systems were worth between $1 million and $5 million. And that company paid him $492,000 during that year. So, and it goes on to say, so since his election to the US Senate in 2010, Manchin has listed AA Properties, a non-public asset, on his annual financial disclosures. AA Property is reportedly 50% owned by Manchin and is, among other things, an investor in the Emerald Coast Realty, which owns La Quinta Hotel, Elkview, West Virginia. So we see here he's involved in coal and he's also involved in property. But isn't it interesting that one of the 8th house characteristics is coal mines, and he literally has gobble gobble in a coal mine? I just find that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So what I learned recently, apparently Joe Minchin is now supposed to be one of the key people putting together this environmental kind of development side for America's future. And I'm like, isn't that a bit of a conflict of interest? What have you said here? Here we are. So Water Lily has said, Manchin is the chairman of the US Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. There you go. So you can see here a direct correlation between the astrology and also elements as well of the career. Isn't that fascinating? So remember though, as well, the 8th house can also do with death. So when I was actually reading further, so I've put here, I've written in my notes, employees have died and also suffered illnesses at these coal plants. I found this very, very interesting. And there's even been things to do with water pollution and like over 200 claims against various different factions, lawsuits going into the millions. This is astonishing. And people have literally died at his workplace. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely astonishing. What are you saying here, Beth? Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Yes, they do clarify quite a lot of things. Thank you for that compliment. And so is this a person with sort of like that background and check record? Is that the best person to have in charge of sort of like renewables and all that kind of stuff, when essentially if everything goes all renewable, he's going to be losing that money apparently, since he's been so linked to fossil fuels industry, making him $4.5 million since he joined the Senate up until today. So you know, there's a big incentive for him to kind of keep stuff the same. I'm not endorsing that at all. I mean, the whole world is burning up, isn't it? I mean, just the whole world is burning up. If it's not fires, then it's storms and earthquakes and all sorts of stuff. I think there was actually an earthquake. There was an earthquake in Melbourne, by the way. So I was just checking in with Dr. Lena Rodriguez to see if she's okay. I dropped her an email and I'm sure she's all good, and I'll check in later. But there's all sorts of earth events happening. So we've got someone here who's got gobble in that area, but there is more. So I hope you're enjoying this so far. Have a little slurp of my drinky poos. Right, let's move on to the next house. Now, if we look here, we're looking at his 9th house. Now, remember, what is the 9th house? The 9th house, of course, deals with higher learning, gurus and teachers, beliefs and politics, publishing and travels, the law and lawmakers, religion, fanaticism, spirituality, innate inspirations, and education. Ooh, wow. 200 of you in the house. Lovely. That's amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope you're enjoying the show. So if we look here, there's something very interesting. Very interesting. So if we look here, 9th house, which I've just read off. Now in here, I've written, because his Mars is in Gemini. It's in sidereal Gemini. Obviously, I'm pointing at Trump's chart, but just so you can see, his Mars is there. Now, Mars represents siblings and brothers in particular. And I will let you into a little secret here. I think I've shared it before, but this is something that I've seen literally in people's charts. And it's this. If a person, be they man or woman, has Mars in Gemini or Virgo, Gemini or Virgo, to an extent Libra as well, but definitely Gemini and Virgo, there is almost always a problem with the brother. Yeah, there's almost always a problem with the brother. And if we look here, oh, it's the glare. There we are. If we look here, there is Mars and it's with Uranus. Yeah, Mars and Uranus. So what's Mars? Mars is what? Energy, passion, conflict, guns, explosions, action movies, working out, the gym, all that stuff. Mars is also strategy as well. So that can be also show a lot of cunning. But like I said, Mars is brothers in particular, but it's with Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet of sudden shocks and surprises, something unpleasant that happens that may liberate us. And we, in the end, we look back and go, oh, well, okay, that was unpleasant, but it did lead to more positive things. Or it can just show that there might be something unusual that comes from the brother, one of the brothers. So what I found here, what I found here before I read some other bit, Here we are. Look, there was a lawsuit. This is interesting. There was a lawsuit. I'm just going to quickly read for you this bit here. So in a lawsuit filed in July 2014, John Manchin II, one of Joe Manchin's brothers, sued Manchin and his other brother, Rock Manchin, over a 1.7 million loan. Isn't that interesting? The lawsuit alleged that Joe and Rock Manchin borrowed the money to keep the doors open at the family-owned carpet business run by Rock, that no part of the loan had yet been repaid, and that the defendants had taken measures to evade compensating John Manchin II for non-payment. Isn't that interesting? John Manchin II withdrew the suit on June 30th, 2015. So maybe they kind of like coughed up the money. Yeah. But isn't that interesting that there is, you know, one of the siblings here may have been challenging in some way. And there it is with Uranus. So we see here, again, this kind of reflects a bit more as well in terms of character, because sort of like, having other people who are not your family file lawsuits against you is one thing, but having family members file lawsuits against you is another level entirely. So again, we're seeing things going on here that, you know, that don't quite add up. Oh, someone's given me some more information. So Jace, what is saying here? Here we are. Here we go. So, in West Virginia, she lied to Congress about raising the price of EpiPens to a ridiculous amount of money, plus changing the packaging to 2 pence. She split the 31 million and lied about what she'd done. Right. We're just about to, I think you're talking about the daughter, aren't you? We're just about to talk to her, which takes us to this section here. Now, if we go round here, I'll just describe another house first before we actually get to this part, which is a real clincher. So if we look here, which is the 10th house, which is about what? Career. Yeah, career, public standing and stuff like that. Now, if I remember correctly, do I have his chart? Let's just see if I've got, let me just see here. Actually, do you remember when we were looking at Abbott's charts? Let me just see if he's got the same. I think he's got the same. 1 minute. Sorry, folks. We can just see if we can see an Abbott's chart. Greg Abbott. Oh, no, he's got his Pluto in the 8th house. I thought it was in the 10th. Anyway, Joe Manchin has, sorry, forgive me. Joe Manchin has his Pluto. Now, remember, what is Pluto? Obsession, power. The shadow can be manipulation. Yeah. It is the dark night of the soul. Pluto can be incredible, but we have to really work hard for his energy and blessings. Yeah, because it's much easier to go into the shadow of Pluto than go into the light of Pluto, because he deals with so many dark things. But remember, he represents the 8th house on his own. And if we look here in Joe Minchin's chart, here we go. We can see he has got Pluto. Oops, I'm going backwards. Pluto with Saturn. Saturn is what? Rules, regulation, pressure, restrictions, conservatism. Saturn really is actually conservatism. Have you noticed around the world that things, people, situations, governments seem to be becoming more conservative, more restrictive overall? Have we noticed that? That's because Saturn is in sidereal Capricorn, which is the sign he rules. That makes Saturn very powerful. And when Saturn is strong, we can see things like that where we have more conservatism. However, next year in around about April, yeah, it is April. Let me actually just check. I can actually give you the exact date. I don't need to guess. Yes, so on the 29th of April, 2004, 2022, Saturn is going to move into Aquarius, and that's much more about humanity. So we're going to be talking about different things. We're going to be talking about freedom and rights, etc., and stuff like that. So Nancy's saying, yes, right now Manchin has right now Manchin has us. We need him in Congress as a Dem. Absolutely, because what's happened, as we all know, because of the balance of power, Joe Manchin and Sinema's vote as well has now become extremely important. Extremely important. And here we have a person who's got the planet of power and manipulation in his 10th house of career. So isn't it interesting that he's almost played this fine nuanced game where he's holding the balance of power, and I'm sure there's part of him that feels a quiet thrill about that, because it's all about him and his vote, and which way am I going to vote? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Am I going to vote Democrat? Or maybe I might vote Republican, because actually when you look at his voting record, if we can look at it here, let me just see here if I got this bit down. It might be in another section. When it came to, here we are. So Manchin, this is how he voted. So Manchin, there's a picture here of Manchin with Brett Kavanaugh. Man, oh my God. I think that says a lot. So according to the 538, I'm not sure what that means, but it's obviously somebody that studies these things, which tracks congressional votes. Manchin voted with Trump's position 50.4% of the time during his presidency. That's 50-50. Do you know what I mean? Very interesting. It does go on to say, though, however, that since the Biden years, so far he's voted with 100% of what Biden's done. So I can't throw him completely under the bus. But isn't that interesting? While Trump was president, there was a 50% chance that he would actually vote, you know, with Trump. Anyway, now the daughter, because someone mentioned now she's embroiled, isn't she, in this scandal, yeah, over the EpiPens. So I was doing a little dig, yeah, because obviously I need to make sure that my details are correct, or at least as far as they can possibly be, because we need to understand, you know, I'm a Brit and I'm from the outside looking in. You guys always know more, and I love the information that you give. What's this? Apparently there are 7 Democrats. Ooh. So CC is saying apparently there are 7 Democrats in the House that don't want to pass the infrastructure bill and would be happy if it just died. Makes you wonder if Manchin and Sinema are working for them. Oh, are working them. Ooh. Before I go into the daughter, into talking about the daughter. You've heard me say it before. If Joe Biden's infrastructure package and lean and green deal passes, you've heard me say it before. I said America will become the wonder of the world. Yeah, you will have a completely you're going to rejuvenate your economies and all that stuff, because the money's going to be there. The jobs are going to be created, and no one's going to turn down a good job. It doesn't matter how much you like or dislike Biden or whatever. A good job is a good job. That's why I'm going to be looking into, the chart. I mean, I've already got it here, the chart, but we'll study it next week, of Dan Price of Gravity Credit, who gave all of his employees $70,000 income minimum. And we're here in a scenario where many people in the workings of the government don't even want many Americans to have $15 an hour. Yeah, so something's not right here. If this bill is passed, the infrastructure bill, if it's passed and it goes lean and green and all that kind of stuff, it will be a revolution, and it would actually manifest the positive aspects of Pluto, because remember, Pluto is in the second house of the USA chart. Yeah, we look here. There we are. There it is. Pluto in the second house of the USA constitutional chart, and you guys are all having a Pluto return. And it takes Pluto 248 years to do one circumnavigation around the sun and therefore the zodiac. So this is going to become exact in 2023 and 2024. Yeah, high stakes. So this, the positive of this is the transformational part. Yeah, this is the opportunity for America to completely rejuvenate itself. Oh, there's 250 of you now. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the part of Pluto where it's like root and branch transformation, and America just becoming something absolutely incredible. It could be wonderful if this passes. It will be like back in the days of the guy, I forget his name. Was it Roosevelt? And his New Deal and all that kind of stuff. This is obviously what Biden's trying to do, and many readers, as you know, on other channels have also been saying the same. So this is, oh, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for your donation. I think that's another one. Thank you. So this is, America has a wonderful opportunity here if this gets passed. But if it doesn't get passed and it gets blocked, then that's more of what that darker side of Pluto, which again deals with what? Scandals, corruption, dark money, trafficking, all that kind of stuff. Look, this does happen around the world, but I want to give an uplifting message here, because now is the time, because that Pluto has gone around, and it's coming back. This is an opportunity to revise everything, grow everything. Oh, 260 of you now. To revise, transform, and this is an opportunity to purge. This is also as well why we're seeing a lot. Have you noticed? Look how intense it's been. I remember when I was doing my little predictions, even though I got the dates wrong on the last one, but I was talking about how Pluto on the 1st of January 2021 would enter the second house of the USA chart. And I said some cray could happen. Do you remember? Now in the USA chart, it's at 6 degrees 48 minutes. This is why it's going to take until 2023, 2024 for Pluto to come exactly back. He's obviously the slowest moving of the planets. I know he's a dwarf planet, but he's very, very powerful. At the moment, Pluto is still in the second house just. So when I was predicting, when I said back in November 2020, when I was talking about that big eclipse, and I said Duck Larange is going to lose his mind and do something cray, and then Pluto going in January 1st, 2021, into the second house, which deals with what? Values, and what we, belief, values, money, resources, etc. What happened 5 days later? January 6th. So this is kind of like this battle that's going on. And Manchin is like, he's like one of the balancing elements of the scales. Is it going to be rebirth? Or is it going to be more of the same? Is it going to be rebirth? Is it going to be more of the same? Is America going to change its society, or is it going to be more of the same? And we see with that combination of that Pluto with Saturn, which represents government, in his 10th house, there is part of him, I suspect, that really enjoys having that kind of power. Now, obviously, I think Joe and stuff and others are trying to do something about it and stuff like that. Let's see, what's Harley Girl saying? Let's see here. The progressives are saying that this current infrastructure omits getting women back in the workforce and no paid maternity leave. It's just like, oh, really? Like, come on, America, you have this amazing opportunity to change. And it's such a shame that there's these regressive things. But the reason why you're getting these things is because what's happening is the fight. Yeah, the fight between the dark and the light here of the future of America. And this is why we're seeing these sort of control and dark money issues and stuff coming up. No country is perfect. And I'm not saying Britain is perfect either. We've got corruption as well and all that kind of stuff. But here, the interconnectedness of big business with the legal and political system is probably a bit too close for comfort. Yeah. Let's see here. So Holly is saying, Hogarth, the Americans are going to change. Women are the majority. Yes, you are. Now, remember, back in the inauguration, do you remember I said there was a very special factor there where Rahu was conjunct the fixed star Bellatrix. And this is a time as well for female leadership and empowerment. Obviously, we've got Kamala Harris who's, doing her best, doing her bits and bobs, even though she's having so much thrown at her, isn't she? Bless her. There's that. But this is also a time for female power. But talking about females, let's talk about the daughter and the wife. Now, as you see me mention before, Venus in a man's chart can represent the spouse, the wife in particular. Yeah, the wife in particular, but it can represent all females, including daughters, sisters, aunts. Thank you, Bronx, for your donation. Thank you so much. Oh, generous as well. Thank you. Thank you for your donation. Venus represents women in a man's chart. So when we look at Venus, this is going to give an inclination of what some of the women in Manchin's life are like. So if we look here, I'll see if I can get a zoom in on this one. Sorry, folks, that sometimes it takes a little while to adjust. Come on. There we are. There's Venus. And you see, I've put it next to a star. Yeah. That star is called Regulus. It's known as the Star of Kings. Yeah. Now, king or queen or whatever, in a way it's kind of like a neutral name because it's more about the energy of leadership. That's really what it's about. And anytime a person has a planet closely conjunct, I would say within 2 to 3 degrees of that star, leadership is going to be a factor in their life, and there's going to be some kingly element about that person. Now, I'm not saying good or bad because I'm saying when it comes to Minchin, yeah, particularly as well, the things with the coal and people dying and, this isn't good. However, that conjunction is still a conjunction. And Regulus, the star Regulus, in terms of its width of degree, goes from 4 degrees 50 minutes to 6 degrees and 4 minutes. Yeah. That's so it's got a bit of a wide berth. That means any planet that is sort of like at 2 degrees of sidereal Leo. Remember, I'm talking about sidereal, where the actual stars are, not tropical. Yeah, not tropical. In tropical, they say Regulus is in Virgo. It's not. It's in the heart of the lion. That's what is known as the heart of the lion. So any planets conjunct that is going to have this leonine, kingly energy to it. And if we look here, his Venus, remember, Regulus goes from 4 degrees 51 minutes to 6 degrees 4 minutes. His Venus is at 4 degrees 51 minutes, exactly conjunct Regulus, which means that his wife and his daughter are both leaders. Isn't that interesting? So what I wrote here, the wife, what's her name? I've written it here. What's the wife? Manchin. Oh God, where have I put the wife? Forgive me. Her name has just escaped me. I might have to write in the notes. But anyway, I've written it here. So here we are. So the daughter wants a throne because the symbol of Regulus is the throne and the ancestors. The daughter wants a throne and is given prominent position. This is before I checked out what all of her stuff was. I just going by the astrology. The wife is also ambitious and powerful. She's got 2 degrees in the arts, a BA and a master's. Remember, Venus is what? Planet of the arts. And it's in Leo, which is a very creative sign. And it's also as well, here, she's, federal co-chair of the I don't know how you say that, Appalachian Regional Commission. Can you believe it? There you go. Leadership. I'm not saying good or bad. It depends how that energy is used. But there it shows. And the daughter, what's this you said here, Nancy? Here we are. We are ahead of you. You okay, you validate. No. Of course, you guys know this. You guys know this already. But of course, for me, this is like exciting because it's a part of catch up, isn't it? It's part of a catch up. Oh, there's over 260 of you with me now. Wonderful. So look, I'm just going to read off this. You already know it, but Heather Bresch, I think that's how you say her name. Obviously, she's got married because her last name is not Manchin anymore. Joe Manchin's daughter played direct part in the EpiPen price inflation scandal. So, and this has come from Ryan Grimm, is the writer of this article. I can't remember where I downloaded it from, but it was up there. So a new email shows the former Mylan CEO. So she was a CEO. Leadership, Regulus, Magha deals with things like that. Also as well, guess what? I've said it before. Donald Trump's Mars is conjunct Regulus, Magha. So it's a lot. The shadow of it can be a thirst for power, almost an insatiable thirst for power is the shadow. The good side is doing nice stuff, being a good leader. Anyway, I'll just read you this little bit. The former president and CEO of the drug maker Mylan, worked directly with the CEO of Pfizer to keep prices of the company's EpiPen product artificially high, according to new documents released as part of an ongoing lawsuit. Now, this is not news to you guys. You know this, but I just did it for my own thing, but also as well, anyone else who is not familiar with American politics will probably enjoy that as well. The documents also show Bresch approving a scheme to force customers captured by the company's monopoly to purchase 2 EpiPens at once, regardless of medical need. The EpiPen is an auto-injectable device that injects epinephrine into the body and can be the difference between life or death for a person suffering from allergies, like a nut allergy or something like that. Fascinating. So we see there, this continues. And lastly, when we look here in Minchin's 12th house, remember the 12th house can deal with secret dealings. Remember that secret dealings, secret deals and stuff. If we look here, his Neptune is in Virgo. Now, remember, Neptune deals with all kinds of drugs, liquids, narcotics, even pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. The sign of Virgo is what? Health. Also deals with health, pharmaceuticals, etc. He's got his Neptune there in the 12th house, the house of secrets. So it shows there's these connections, with secret dealings to do around pharmaceuticals. His daughter is embroiled in a scandal. We'll see what happens. So here we are. So, and I put here, the daughter is the CEO, or was the CEO of Mylan. So we can see that literally expressing itself in the chart. Also as well, when we look at the Navamsha, the second half of life, we see that Minchin's ascendant moves from Libra to Taurus. So he's still Venusian. Taurus is about what? Material gains. Part of the shadow of that. I mean, not shadow. We all need nice stuff. We all want nice stuff. We all need nice stuff. But when someone goes into the shadow, that's over materialism. And look, we have got Neptune there again with Venus. Neptune is what? The planet can be the planet of deception, but it's also the higher octave of Venus. So what I've written here is Neptune plus Venus in the first house, deception and decadence. or a deep passion for food as well, but also as well maybe over attachment, yeah, to material things. Anyway, that a lot of that may not necessarily be news for you, but isn't it interesting how that was backed up in the astrology? And let's do, oh my gosh, the hour's gone already. Let's do a read. So I'm going to answer your question, Nancy. So here we are. What will it take for Manchin and Cinema to recognize they are Democrats and have a responsibility to citizens and party? Let's have a look. Hey, let's have a look. Oh, someone's listening and driving as well. What's this? Connie Brown. I've been listening and driving as well. Hello to everyone. Thank you so much, Connie. Drive safely, though. Yeah, drive safely. Try not to get too distracted. But of course, you know, you can just have me as radio. And I think someone just donated as well. Oh, thank you, Dana. Thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate that. I've slightly run over. Never mind. Let's just pull the cards. All right. So answering. Oh, that's a bit weird. They're in there. Answering Nancy's question. What will it take for Manchin and Cinema to recognize they are Democrats? Or let's just say for Manchin to recognize that he is a Democrat. Oh, while I'm shuffling, let's do a bit of this where I bring the cards down so you can see what I'm doing. I'll try and do this neatly. And I go like this. Obviously, I'm not quite as straight. Look who's turned up, the Hermit, and we've got Joe Biden there as well. Let's do this. That's better. That's better. All right, now I'm going to select. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what is going on. What will it take for Manchin and Cinema to recognize they are Democrats? They are Democrats. What will it take? What messages do you have, Spirit, for everyone? What will it take? What will it take? What will it take? And let's see here, what will it take? All right, let's have a look. We will have a look. And let me just make sure you can actually see that here as I turn them over. So the first card. Oh, Hanged Man. Strength. Partisan. Battles. Oh dear. All right, that's very clear to me. That's very clear. All right, I'm going to bring this up. Straight off, what do we get? First card. Situation. Hanged Man. It's in reverse. Yeah, so this is being extra stuck. When it's the right way up, it's the Hanged Man. It's a change of perspective. And you'll see here that the guy has got 1 foot free. Yeah, so in a way, this is like a holding pattern, a change of perspective, maybe not that much happening. And this card is actually very appropriate, isn't it? Because we're talking about what? Votes and people not moving. So there's that element, but here it's reverse. So again, I always say a reverse card is immediately more internal. And because we're talking about Manchin, so it's almost like he's got this inner hangman going on. He's not sure how to play it. He knows he's going to have to make a move at some point, but what will that be? So this is also talking about a kind of a deep introspection and almost feeling tied. I think there's big money, obviously dark money. And there's, I think also as well, Nancy was saying, you know, there's that video out on the internet where it's saying that people who are in the fossil fuel business saying they've got certain people in their pocket, you know, that represents that. This is being in someone's pocket. What's the obstacle? The obstacle is strength. So literally, does Manchin and Cinema have the strength to do the right thing? Does he have the strength to do the right thing? Someone's just saying here. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Does he have the strength to do the right thing? Question marks. Yeah, question marks. What's the next card? partisanship, not being able to agree. Yeah, agree. This is what conflicts, people having different opinions. What should we do? What should we do? Could this be part of the dialogue that is also going on with the seven Democrats mentioned that may potentially not want to support the bill? Could that be part of it as well? Someone's also saying voters have the strength. Yes, there's a lot of truth to that as well. And thank you so much as well, Tammy, for the donation. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So yeah, there's that. So, but this is partisan. Yeah, this is politics. Basically, this is politics. At some point, Joe may ask himself if the battle was worth it. This is also what? An abuse of power. We've already seen this in the chart. We've already seen this in a chart with that, Rahu in the 8th house. This is an abuse of power, but also as well, you see the other two people are walking away. So there is that element there of, was it worth that fight? So I think also as well, Manchin might be asking himself serious questions of whether or not it's worth it. But look at the outcome card. Wow. Betrayal. Yeah. Being stabbed in the back. Now, is this the American people who've been betrayed and stabbed in the back? I think there is a strong element of that. But in terms of the question was, what will it take for them to realize that they're Democrats? Maybe they have to be removed from office. Maybe they have to be exposed in some way, again, for entertainment purposes only. This is a major reversal in fortunes. And remember as well, he's also having a nodal return, which can, if you're in the light of the nodal return, that can reaffirm your life path and you kind of, get good karma in a way. But if you've been doing dodgy things in those previous 18.5/19 years, it can also be a very powerful time where a difficult karma is delivered in one's life. This is why nodal returns are so important. So when we look here, this to me, coming in the context of this question, what will it take for Manchin to realize that he's a Democrat? It could be being found out and essentially ruined. Yeah, it could be him losing everything in some shape or form, or it could be some betrayal where he recognizes that maybe he should have done the right thing all along. There we are. But either way, as we can see, that is a very strong card to have as a final outcome. I must stop it there. My goodness. And again, yes, for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. Thank you, everyone, for joining me this evening. Honestly, I really appreciate it. There's lots of people doing videos and stuff like that. So I really appreciate when you spend time with me for these insights. I hope you're liking them. Just a reminder, next week is going to be more upbeat, folks. Yeah, Jupiter is debilitated, and I want to give some people some hope and some light. So next week, we are going to be looking at the chart of Dan. Like I said, Dan Price, the guy that paid his employees a minimum of $70,000, yeah, a year each, minimum. And we're going to look at certain aspects of his chart and what makes that so special and why that has happened. So I'm going to have to leave it there for everyone. Thank you so much for... what's it? What's someone? Oops. What's this here? Dan, thanks so much. Thanks so much. What am I doing? So thanks so much for joining me here. So time to end the show. Otherwise, the video will be too long. People don't like videos that are too long. So I really appreciate you all joining me here. Thank you, everyone, as well, to everyone who donated. Please tune in for next week. So next Wednesday, like I said, it's going to be Dan Price. We're going to be looking at generosity. What makes a CEO? What makes a good leader? What makes someone give to their staff? And of course, I will also be announcing next week's winner of a free consultation from my Tier 3 membership. So thank you, everyone. I wish you good night and see you next time. That time went so quickly. All right. Much love. Bye-bye.